Welcome back, everyone, to the session 0 for the Galaxy. If you hadn't had a chance to go check it out, I recommend after this session, go watch our session -0. It's -1, I called it, where we went and built out the world, or the galaxy, I should say, in this case. This is a collaboratively built galaxy that's going to be host to a number of different adventures. These are going to be like mini campaigns. So estimating between 3 to 5 sessions for each campaign. It's going to be utilizing a variety of sci-fi systems. The first one, we're doing it with the Alien, but the other ones will be a mix between Stars Without Number, Scum and Villainy, probably some Starfinder 2E in there as well. I've heard good things about Traveler, but I haven't read or looked into that one yet, so that could be a mix in there. It's going to be a variety of different systems too, tailoring the systems to what adventure we're playing. In this group, they decided they had a couple of different options, but decided to go with the mission I'm calling Hard Contact, where they're going to be called into a world that has gone dark. But before we dive into that, it's been, I think, probably about 2 months or so, roughly around that, since we did the galaxy building session, the holidays, and wrapping up the other campaign. Took a little longer than we expected. So good, a little bit of a refresher and probably some continued world building on that side too, just to kind of see what areas we need to flesh out to get the galaxy kind of ready for our first campaign. But yeah, let me pull up my notes here for that as well. Actually, while I'm pulling my notes, does anybody have any questions or thoughts to kind of kick it off?
The first one is just for the game as a whole. Are we going to be limited on race choices, or can we pick any of the playable races we've already outlined for this?
Or the nice thing with Alien is it pretty much has human and cyborg. So if you want to flavor your human as one of our races, go for it.
Heck yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure it's just human and cyborg for that one, or I forget what they call it. Android, maybe?
Yeah.
Synthetic?
Synthetic, there we go. Synthetic. So if you guys want to pick any of the ones we've developed on that side, feel free. With that, a little bit of the key pieces, I think, for the galaxy that we built out. One of the big things that sounds like drives the galaxy from when we built it out collaboratively is the pursuit of Zro. And Zro is this substance that's made from the heart of a dead star. It is this a thing that can power ancient technology, incredible reserves of energy located within them. It could also be utilized for those who have access to the power or multi-kinesis to enhance their innate gifts. It's just a universal substance that is just incredibly powerful, incredibly versatile, and highly desired across the galaxy, with much of the galaxy's war, trade, pursuits centered around its gathering. With our mission or our first adventure, one of the big ways it's going to interact is that during the world creation, we came up with 2 major ancient factions, the gardeners and the harvesters, who made 2 creations that still endure to this day, multiple millennia later. The pavers, as well as the Star Eaters. And with this adventure, the Hard Contact side, there's a colony that's gone dark, and people believe there may be a Star Eater in the region, causing kind of connections to go out. People not able to reach either through the ancient technology they have there, or as well as the multi-kinesis. It overall has just gone completely blank. And the group will be brought in to see if they can figure out what's going on, help evacuate if it is a Star Eater, and just hopefully shed some light on the situation. But with that too, I want to see what questions you all have kind of about the setting. I know it's been months. Luckily, I was kind of going over my notes recently, so I'm feeling somewhat refreshed. I should have rewatched the video, but I did some of my notes, and I think I'm pretty caught up. But what questions do you guys have? What areas do you think we need to fill in before this adventure? And for the viewers, kind of the framework we're doing, and probably we'll do for each session zero. Each session zero will be another chance for the players, myself, to build out the galaxy even further, depending on what adventure that we'll be working with, as well as kind of go over the core mechanics of the system. So we're going to be going through Alien today. That one actually I did have to watch myself, and thank you for all my viewers for actually putting up with watching me, because I hate watching myself. I'm like, do I really want to read the whole book or just go bite size like this? I wish I saved my notes, but I did not. And then after that, we're going to go through and start kind of doing a little bit of like team building, not going through and building the characters or the statting out the characters, but kind of getting a feel for who the characters may be and kind of getting interactions with kind of how that crew came together. And then what we're going to do after that, there's going to be a week off to give our players times to build. Unfortunately, it's going to be 2 weeks this time because I'm going to Mexico 2 Tuesdays from now. But after that, we'll come back. I think that's the 18th or around there for the kicking off the adventure, which should be about 3, I'm guessing 3 to 4 sessions on this one. But with that, I'll turn it over to the crew. What questions do you guys have? What areas do you think we need to build out?
All right, I have something immediately. 2 things, actually. Firstly, Tegan, those videos you put out for the systems are a lifesaver, and I've used them many a times. So thank you for them sincerely. And 2, I have a question on synthetics, actually. Because last time we established the majority of the galaxy are not too much of a fan of synthetic races and machine races. However, there are exceptions to this, such as the humans, who are still newer to the galaxy and more so like, hey, these guys are cool and live amongst us. With that known, is it still a choosable race for this, or should we steer away from it given the current lore of the galaxy?
There are synthetics around. I forgot the name. I don't know. Did we name the AI species? I didn't see that in my notes. I know there is an AI species created by the Durand that is kind of roaming through. I would say it's possible, but it kind of would fit the alien, how Alien does synthetics, because you'd have to be kind of disguised as another species, and then people figure out that you are a synthetic. It could cause both fictional trouble in the narrative, but also in the mechanics too. When the synthetics get hurt or people discover they're synthetics, that causes stress and panic. So I think the mechanics aid the fiction in this one.
Heck yeah. In that case, I'll turn it to the rest of the party because I don't think we did name them. If I am mistaken, I am mistaken, but
I didn't write it down if we did, and Chris didn't either.
yeah, just looking
I don't
through that.
remember. Well, I guess
very
we get
brief.
to do it again for the first time, probably.
I think we just called it the AI. I don't actually think we.
Yeah, it might help to distinguish the AI created by the Durand, which are relatively recent in the span of things, versus all the AIs created by the ancient species that are much more powerful and take some different forms, I think.
That's a good point, because the Star Eaters are technically AI too.
Yeah.
For the Durand.
Ooh. Thinking of names. I'm trying to think around with the idea of like something with like binary, like like building on the word binary and then just making that sort of like a, I don't know, just throwing it out.
Because I remember the like common name for the Durand is the Hiss, because they're like lizard people kind of. So what if the name for their AI is like a sound that machines make, or something?
Oh, I like that.
I'm trying to think like.
That reminds me of Star Wars, the fact that like the B-1 battle droids and the rest of the droids during the Clone Wars were called clinkers because of the sound that the marching makes.
I keep wanting to find like a bud sound from a dial-up modem, but it's just burr, and it doesn't really fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everything else just sounds stupid. Like, nope, yep, nope. And for dial-up, I remember is a ding, ding, ding. But all right,
Something like
question
Beepers
then.
is the first mind first thing that comes to mind for me. But
Yeah, do we imagine, so when we think of this, are we thinking more of like, and only because why not with the alien theme here, are they going to be synthetics posing as another race, or like do people know that like, oh, these are robots?
I think with the whole galaxy outside of the Duran being a very, very small force, I think they would have to be like either completely hidden away from the galaxy or trying to intermingle by kind of disguising themselves.
I like that. Okay, so two things come to mind. Firstly, there is the more colloquial term, which we could make like the noise they make, same with the Durand, how we did that, and the actual term. I kind of like the name for just like these Durand AI in general. Whenever it's logged down in actual like notes and reports, just something like Nemesis or the arch enemy, something along those lines.
I don't want to go too on that one because we did make another faction called the Nameless, which are we didn't flesh them out too much, but they're kind of biological terror creatures that come in the wake of Star Eaters.
All right. I
The
got
second thing,
one. It's stupid. They come from the Durand, right? So we call them do-bots.
Somebody got something better. I think that's okay. I know.
So I got an idea. So, and I'm thinking Battlestar Galactica here. And so I think we can have a formal name, and I think the do-bots would work for that. But then I think there's a slang term, and it's probably going to be, I'm thinking toaster, nothing super offensive, but they would consider it a derogatory way to address them. And the Duran, like, they just don't understand it, and so they just pick it up too. They're just like literally like so straightforward. So they just be like, oh yeah, toasters, that's who they are.
I feel like the do-bot would be the derogatory name.
I kind of like the name Quakes as well, as if they're very kind of on the same line of clankers. Like they're very movements in mass quake the ground, but that turning that to almost like they're quaking in their boots now.
But there's already a group of people called the Quakers.
Oh wait, is there?
No, I mean like actual people called the. I'm kidding. I mean, I am not kidding. That is an actual thing in English.
They are a real people.
I was looking through my notes.
I mean, you ever had Quaker Oats?
I have.
It's a lot better than the name I came up with initially. But
So,
right,
I do like toaster as a slang. Do-bot is the original one.
One other thing I have in my notes is that so these synthetics were made by the Duran earlier in their advancement. Something that we decided last time that we don't necessarily need to stick to, but I thought that was kind of an interesting bit where it's like most people, and the Duran probably also don't like these synthetics, but they're so bound by their honor and culture that's like, well, they are our creation, so we're responsible for them, and they take that seriously. Not sure how that will help us get a name or not, but
as the Arkwin, I don't know if the do-bots did anything to cause it, but they did attack the Arkwin attacked them.
Yeah. I kind of like the do-bot as the slang, but maybe a little twist on it in that people call them do-bots because you're like, yeah, the Duran are around, but it's the same thing. Like the Duran don't like them, and so maybe they're like when they hear do-bot, like it actually is more triggering than.
Okay.
And so maybe if we flip it around, and then we'd still have to have maybe a formal name, but I kind of like that because if you see them, you'd be like, oh yeah, those are do-bots. Now my tongue is all getting twisted. The Duran are around.
We should give it like a red. Like it should be like a D. Like
okay, do ring, like maybe like an offshoot of their original name, the do ring, and then the do and instead of calling them the do ring, we just call them the damn do bots.
I like it.
It also has the thing of like, all right, bot, do this. Kind of like a go for this, go for that.
Like a verb, like a derogatory verb for the do ring. That's a do bot. Go do bot stuff.
Go do something. Go do something.
I like it. actually. I like the do ring and I like the do bot. I think that's fun.
I think
Yeah, I think that's where it landed.
I do still like the idea of some Durand, still like keeping these synthetics under like their quote unquote horde still though, while others are less keen.
Yeah, I like the angle that they feel like since they made them, they're obligated to protect them, but they just don't really like them. Like it's one of those like it's just an obligation for a species that just lives for a long, long time.
It sounds like a problem child.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, there they are doing things again. Well,
So yeah, we've got our existing races as well as the Dewbots to be playable races for Alien, with the Dewbots sharing all of the synthetic traits, and then the other any of the other species that can fit will basically just be utilizing kind of the human stats on that side and kind of flowing off that.
One question I had is I feel like the Mangasi are a little less fleshed out than a lot of our other species, so it might be a good idea to come up with a few more things about them. Because so they're the ones that can like curl up into a sphere and use magnetic waves to manipulate things, and they're kind of like diplomats. And then I have one note about they push the boundaries of AI, but other than that, there's not really too much we have written about them.
I will make very briefly. I do want to say they're one of the ones I had the most fun designing, as just like a little pangolin, like shrimp ball that just curls up. I think I just love doodling their design sometimes because it's just a circle, but then they unfurl, and it's just a little thing with long fingers.
Man, I'm grateful that I'm probably won't be the human to make first contact with an alien anything, because just you describing that is like, wow, if I saw that in real life, I'd want to kill it. just what the hell is that?
Cause that first contact war.
Yeah. It was like a giant trip armadillo thing. It just came up. Yeah. Jeez.
With gravity power, well, magnetic powers, but for people uninformed, gravity powers.
Gravity. Yeah, well,
Just
gravitational
imagine
pull of these bullets.
them sending like their honored diplomat, and you just like shooting and mounting that thing, being like, "Look what I got!" And then like they're like showing up, and they're like, "Ah!"
What's that? Gives a real Starship Trooper vibes.
Stop that bug.
Funny enough, if I remember correctly, they were the ones also pushing the boundaries on diplomacy, specifically in translation, as well as trying their best to make connections between species, just because they are so intrigued by that and the galaxy as a whole. So I do kind of like the idea of like, for the rest of the galaxy, like the Grav are like one of the most accepted species in places. Like anyone is happy to have them, especially since they have that magnetic ability. I imagine, especially in like workforces or quote unquote mercenaries, they would come very in handy, even though they're not normally very combatant by nature.
Right. Because the assembly are also very good at like working and building things, but they don't like Zero. So maybe the Mangasi are like, if you need someone to work with Zero, they're going to do it because they want to make other species happy, even if like there's potential consequences there, and they use their magnetic stuff to manipulate Zero carefully. They're good at dealing with like hazardous materials and stuff like that. That the assembly,
yeah, because there would be like absolutely no physical contact whatsoever.
I'm just thinking, like, what if that whole, magnetic manipulation was like a well-guarded secret of theirs? I'm just thinking that because if I'm, because I'm in my head, I'm thinking they want to have the equivalent of embassies or whatever. If they're trying to be, like, hey, let's a bridge between species, and trying to like I guess like a mixture between like a missionary outpost and an embassy.
I like that, but the idea of them keeping secrets seems almost counterintuitive to them as like almost this like
Well-
by nature good and outgoing species.
Well, the reason and like, all right, so if I could manipulate magnets, like with magnetism, would you let me near an important anything? It's like, you use that for spaceflight. Well, now it's a ball of sad. It's just, again, maybe I'm overthinking it.
No, I like
One thing I
that.
think- One thing we could make that work with too, 'cause especially with them having like embassies, like you said, they're kind of like almost like missionary outreach thing. What if they're one of the species that uplifts other species? Shows up, shows you how to use some technology, kind of gives you a path to the stars. They've got crazy magnetic powers, but I mean, if you're coming with free tech and
Yeah, I think
goodwill,
that's-
most people are gonna be
I think
happy to see it.
What
And also,
questions?
thinking about what we were saying earlier about like the idea of the emissary then just being like killed because they're so like scary looking. What if like when the Mangashi first started doing like interacting with other species, there was a lot of violence, and their history has a lot of like things with secrecy and not trusting, but like they've since moved past that, and maybe they lost a lot of their people and now they're trying to like regrow and spread because they had all these like terrible wars in the past and are trying to like earn that like peace among the galaxy after that.
Definitely.
Kinda like-
And for the wars, I would say the two big species, and definitely see what you all think on this one, that fought the Benghazi, the people that came in goodwill, the Arquin, as well as the humans. The humans are like, yeah, you showed up at our planet talking about free tech and looking weird. We're shooting you out of the sky.
So
and the
I
Arquin are
murdered
like,
one,
why are
and
you
I got-
giving shit out for free? Why are you
I actually would like to counter that. Instead of the Arquin, because the Arquin already have enough war crimes under their belt. Let's spread that out a little bit. I'd say more so the dwarves. I feel like because I'm sorry, I think it's Deep Rock Galactica where like the dwarves are trying to mine and then the bugs come and they're just like, oh, we gotta stomp this out. Kind of a similar thing of like, what the fuck is that? I don't know. It's stopping the production. Get the hammer.
These bugs are here for the ore. They must be. Why else would they be here?
Especially like when they realize, oh, they're magnetic. Oh, they're trying to take our resources. With
Well,
humans, I feel like it should be more varied as well. Like some humans being more accepting, while others are just like, yeah, what the fuck are these? Let's get these out of here. So it being a bit of a roller coaster of a history of them with humans versus
I
the
can see
dwarves
that.
just being like, you came to the wrong mine.
I can see there being like an ideological problem with the dwarfs because the dwarfs are very much like we're the strongest and it's all about physical prowess and our ability to mine and physical toughness. And then these people just show up and they're just like moving things with their mind. And the dwarfs are like, what is going on here? Like I could see there being like an ideological problem with that.
Especially when you keep in mind for the galaxy as a whole, the dwarves are like one of the main workforces. While
Yep.
you have the Graph here who can do a lot of the same things without nearly as much effort. Of course, they aren't quite environmentally resistant, but I can see where there can be a bit of rivalry there.
I'm just imagining a very short and angry yell of they took our jobs.
Yeah, maybe the dwarf unions don't allow it. One thing I do want to kind of mention though is I like the idea of the Benghazi used like historically being like an aggressive, brutal race, and kind of the correlation there is if you were to think the fallout of World War II, how like modern Germany is very much like they have laws against military power because of their history. Like I think the Benghazi, maybe that's why they're so passive and why they're so trusted. Is you're like, no, these are the laws because of our history. I think that'd be kind of fun.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I could just imagine some people holding out like, just you wait. They get the wrong, fill in the blank leadership title, and they'll be back the same way again.
The older races, like we remember 300 years ago.
I also really like the idea of like for that kind of past, the only people to have matched the level of violence, like say the grab and the hiss have done in the past, is the humans, and kind of possibly for the Mangasi, why there was some friction with the humans was also them learning like, oh, you had this many genocides in your past? What was the casualty report? Oh my goodness. Because for the galaxy, their populations are a lot smaller than the humans, and they take a lot more time to get that population back up versus the humans. Oh, was Genghis Kong? How many did he kill?
And that
The atmosphere changed because of it.
And that was when you were on one planet?
That was before you had guns?
That was before you had space flight in other worlds? What? Yeah.
That was before the best technology you had was a pokey stick, and he did that.
I do really like our humans of the Zerg, pretty much in the speech.
Yeah, when I read that sentence on my notes, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's fun."
That's really, you gestate in hell? What? Really?
No, so for the Mangasi, like possibly some, though it's a bit of a roller coaster. Some liking humans, some of the Mangasi might just really not like humans because of their history and how it repeats itself. And that's
maybe we're not sorry about it.
Yeah, no, not sorry about it. Okay, we're bringing nuclear weapons in.
Yeah, exactly. Like the unapologetic humans. Like, yeah, we did some stuff. We'll do it again.
It's like you just had a battle. You lost 10,000 people. It wasn't great, but we're ready. So we're like,
we got 300,000 more.
Yep.
That's our entire population on this colony. Thanks for the info.
Yeah, right. So, I think that I like the idea of them being like repentant war criminals, and that's why they're so glad handing with everybody. Like, come on, guys, we can't. Our population can't take that another blow like that. Let's be friends.
We're sorry. And here's some tech.
Exactly.
Is discovered that's still like in our equivalent modern era, whatever. So the Mangasi go there and they're like, here's how to travel through space. Here's how to send communication super fast. Here's how to do anti-gravity technology. But they're also like subtly doing things to suppress weapon advancement in that species, so that like they're making sure all right, these new species are not going to be violent, or at least they're not going to have the ability to like defend themselves if they need to, or if things get out of hand and we don't understand what they're capable of.
Guided evolution.
Yeah, which also is probably why the dwarves and humans didn't work out nearly as good. Just like, so what about the weapons? No. Communication, transmissions, that's all good. The weapons, though.
So if you build all this, you've got some really good weapons. You've got. So I like that.
They show up and they're like, "This is free and clean energy," and the humans are like, "Can I throw it at someone and will it blow up?" No, right. No, it's pure energy.
Yes.
Oh, well, dwarves are on the mind. I do want to just bring up this one thing. I forget which it was, but I remember watching a YouTube short describing like how dwarves would be perfect pilots because they have all the skills necessary for it. Just like as a baseline, and I kind of like that of the idea of like dwarves here are considered good pilots. It's completely unrelated to all that we are saying, but I do like the idea.
I like that because we already kind of established that the dwarves travel a lot in groups and kind of around the galaxy doing different jobs. And it makes sense that they're probably the most prolific spacers for the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. Or if you were kind of sort of on this tack of like, so if they are used to this high gravity environments, the G-forces, maybe other pilots would just pass out. Dwarves are just like, yeah, that's a normal day.
And they also have like less body for the blood to move through.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about like a pilot that like lost his legs like under his knees, and like, oh, because of that, he could do wilder stuff in the air.
Actually, a technique they teach them to pinch, their legs so the blood doesn't flow. Yeah, it's a thing.
All right.
Not to mention the lesser oxygen would be something also experienced with deep down underground. So they would likely, if the air filtration and life support started to strain because of that, they'd be all right.
Yeah, just take shallow breaths.
Yeah, turn life support real down, turn gravity real down, put that power into engines and guns.
Yeah, and not to mention a smaller cockpit means less to shoot. Not to mention, on the same thing of like less weight, smaller package, be the dwarves, they can armor up their stuff a lot more, or possibly put more guns on it, or things for speed.
So, all right. I know we were talking like on stuff we wanted to add on to. I think we glossed over, and well, because it was so much we wanted. I mean, we wanted to put together a galaxy in a few hours. And that's a lot. So the whole process for a star eater eating, right? Is that just I can't imagine, and it's just like some comical, like oversized, like like hungry hippo just going oh. It's I'm imagining giving it some thought, like a much longer process. Is that did we decide on something? It's been a few months. I don't
We
want to
didn't
sound
decide
stupid.
on anything. How long were you thinking? Because like initially I was thinking kind of a long, or depending on how long you're thinking. I was thinking it should be something that took probably about a month or so, or maybe a month or
Yeah.
two, where it has to set up like devices kind of around the star to kind of slowly drain out its energy.
Yeah, to I guess make it age in fast forward.
I
If
kind
that
of like
makes
the
sense.
idea of like it unfurling over time, and it takes a long time for people to realize it's doing this, just because its systems might stealth itself or may just naturally blend into the void of space. But unfurling around a certain section of the system and like almost enclosing it, nearly enclosing it, and slowly just draining all of the star's energy from there, or aging it like that, while also putting up a barrier so nothing can get in, nothing can get out. If it captures one of the pavers, it's basically a death trap for it.
Well, I mean, if nothing can get in, nothing can get out, then I think our whole prompt here kind of just fizzles out.
Ah, yeah, that's fair. So,
But I
am.
am thinking of a way to like lean into it is essentially since it's aging or expending the energy so much more quickly, there's a lot more sun flares. So that might disrupt communications. Like it's essentially, like boiling it at like 10 times speed or 10 times the heat. So it's just, and that would disrupt communications.
Well,
Disrupt communications, knock out technology occasionally, just make it difficult to traverse through the systems. And I like the unfurling bits too. I feel like they were kind of, at least in my mind, how it's doing is like kind of aging the star and almost like kind of digging through pieces of the star like to get the energy in the core. And like the other energy it doesn't really need. It's just like basically like carving it out, causing it to like disperse in like random crazy vectors.
So I guess the question would be, because I didn't picture that. So is it aging the star or is it stopping the star from burning? Meaning, is it just stopping the reaction or is it actually absorbing the energy?
I kind of like absorbing the energy and aging the star.
Yeah, it can be both. ¿Por qué no los dos? Just like the whole process makes it age faster.
Yeah, kind of eating that energy core. Kind of just ages
it.
I mean, because I know stars get bigger as they age, but I don't know how we would work at our hand wave. Whatever, it's doing it so quickly it doesn't get time to get bigger. It's eating the excess. Never mind. Right?
Or it can even get bigger, because one of the things I was thinking, wanted to pitch to the group, is basically once the Sun Eater eats the core, star goes. What remains goes nova.
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
So it's getting bigger, but like the core gets pretty much sucked out, and then without holding it together, it just novas out.
So maybe it literally just starts carving its way through until it boom.
I like it.
I can make room. Haha, dig.
I like the idea of the increased solar activity, though.
Yeah. Unless anybody has anything crazy, I would like to leave that vague.
Oh boy. Uh-oh.
All right.
What other areas do we think are kind of key for fleshing out?
I want to touch upon this row addicts because I've been doodling and drawing them a lot, and I kind of go in for different races, different directions. Like with the humans, the one I sent into chats of the dude just posing like this. I'll be real with you. I just channeled like what is the most crackhead energy thing for a row addict to do? Oh yeah, like oh I'm getting such migraines and headaches. Let me just take off my skull plates real fast. Like the feels I could feel I make around my brain will protect it better than my flesh will. Or like the fact that like the kind of clothes I dream with was basically in my mind just a bathrobe tied around his waist because again most crackhead energy thing like I am a god, drive me.
That's yeah.
Well, on the other end, for the Mangasi, the grab of it, almost like as they like go into it, like their insides kind of swell out, so they can't quite roll back up and as well anymore. So you can immediately tell because they're not a ball; they're just basically unfurled and swollen and spilling out from their own shell. And I kind of wanted to flesh out just briefly the ways that Zro affects different species because as an artist, I want to be able to draw these things and possibly provide Tegan with art and or anyone else who wants to host with art of the addicts.
Oh man.
I noticed that overall it kind of created like calcification with growths kind of coming out of them.
Like we could double down on that with dwarves of them becoming far more stone-like and getting the most calcification out of it. Like I said for the Mangasi, I like them like swelling out of their shell. Like it's still on there, but it forms cracks and bits of their flesh are showing, and they can't quite roll up, so it's very visible. With humans, they just get fucked. They burn bright and burn fast.
Because I'm imagining like I'm going to pop back to the armadillo shrimp. That's the best combination that I see. And I'm guessing exoskeletal sort of a thing where their bones are on the outside, so like their stuff starts to crack and like they can't quite, like you're saying, roll back in. That makes a lot of sense. I like that. Maybe like those cracks like hum with energy. I'm thinking.
I like that.
Like it's like it's like bursting out of them. I'm just thinking that would look pretty damn cool. Man, Bert, you're talented with the pen and paper, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For the Aquin, they just die because
lol.
And the hiss. I'm really scared of what would happen to the hiss, but I kind of feel like while the rest of the galaxy gets super fucked up from it, the hiss just become more hiss. The run just become more. You know, they just get bigger, stronger, more scary. Because I always, whenever I've drawn them, I've kind of drawn them almost as if with some of those features I kind of put into the other ones who I already hopped up on Zro of like almost they look a little fucked up to begin with. Like
I like the hiss being the only ones that can use Zero like somewhat safely because the harvesters, I think if I remember right, the harvesters made the hiss as their bodyguards and they use Zero as their power source. It makes sense they want their bodyguards to, they need to charge them up real quick, have them go Nova on something to be able to do so as safe as they could.
Yeah, maybe like hits Zero addicts are, at least if it's not gone too far, a little bit harder to identify. But like as they get into it, like maybe just their eyes glow a certain color or some veins start to like glow a bit. but other than that, like there's not too much. But then once they like reach a certain breaking point, then they go completely like different, and it, like kind of like the bursting out feeling, but like they're, I don't know exactly what it would look like, but they can take a lot more zero before there's any noticeable effects. But then there's a certain point where it gets.
I got a weird idea, right?
Mhm.
And I'm terrible with the names. I need a cheat sheet. I'm sorry, guys. The last one, the last race that was, it's one of the older races, right? Or
The
species.
assembly?
No. The one that the other one that you were just talking about.
The Durand or the Hiss?
Yeah. Which one's the oldest?
That's the
Durand are the oldest, I think.
yeah.
They
look
Durand
long.
followed by the assembly, followed by the Arquin.
Okay. No. Again, terrible with the names, but with putting the face of the names, the Durand are
The big dragon ones, like the
and that doodle sheet you've got the one towards the top, right?
yeah. Oh yeah, the top left would be the Durand.
Yeah. Okay. Wild idea, right? Maybe the reason that they can stomach Zro, so to speak, is because their species was already ravaged by Zro. And the descendants are what survived. Long ago, hush hush secret. Right? They don't talk about it because it's a little embarrassing to be the descendants of space crack addicts.
I could see that because we've got the harvesters being their creators, and kind of the harvesters row angle, and the harvesters fell due to Zro, we said. So it makes sense that their species they created and kind of probably got hooked on Zro with no harvesters to keep them in check. We could even, because we had them with the Durand as well, had a pretty nasty war amongst themselves. Because that war had been over Zero and them basically being hooked on it, and that's why they had to spread out. That's why.
I'm imagining like Hulk when he's like, "What's the secret?" And he's like, "I'm always angry." What if they're all addicts? Like they have to have Zero.
I like
That
that.
goes
It kind of like
into, like-
different degrees to how often or frequent they need to take it. Some are able to kind of go kind of months, maybe even years without taking, but others just kind of have to start getting those hits quicker and quicker.
Hey, that would explain why they live to be so old
True.
and why they're so powerful.
And
They were
maybe
built-
as
they
they
were-
age, they need more.
I like that. I like it'd be kind of cool too to be like a well-kept secret within the galaxy. Everybody thinks that they're on like these upstanding protectors, and typically they are, but they're getting high on the side.
But yeah,
That goes into like the little rumor we talked about before last time of like somewhere there's this Theron that's just like turned to stone floating amongst like a graveyard, and people have tried to get to it but not been able to.
Yeah.
Just the idea of like, oh yeah, that's the oldest living one. Don't wake it up. Oh, that actually reminds me. I wanted to introduce another rumor to do with these Zro addicts, and that is more of like a characterful one of like, perhaps there is a Zro addict out there who did end up like needing so much that he let himself be turned to stone, but he had someone who was amongst like, I forget the exact names we gave them, basically the sidekicks of the galaxy, who claims to now speak for him and to hear his voice even though he is turned to stone. Just, it's not confirmed whether or not that's true, but this person's trying to make a stockpile of Zro that if they ever needed to reawaken their boss, they could. Or it could just be an excuse to get as much Zro as they can. Kind of like a seedy underbelly kind of thing.
Definitely. And we called them MKs, and then we called Zero addicts two different things. We called them MKZs as well as fiends with a Z.
Yeah.
I forgot why I wrote it with a Z, so like I imagine somebody said that, but
I'm just imagining now like a cult. That's hard. That's like stockpiling Zro for the eventual return of the almighty Zed. Or something
one of the
like
things
that.
we said too with Zero addicts getting more common was that they were destroying a lot of the ancient tech. Let's say this cult is one of the ones that's kind of keenly responsible for destroying that tech to harvest the zero out.
And that leads into something I was just about to bring up, and that is, we know some people worship the Pavers. Did we touch upon anybody who would worship the Death Eaters? Sorry, the Star Eaters.
I imagine people would, and we did establish that the Star Eaters were only recently kind of like truly confirmed. Within the last like few centuries, I think it was when we kind of the galaxy. There was rumors before, but it was like a Bigfoot style rumor. But they got it like clearly on camera, something eating a star. So now it's no longer rumor; it's something that all the galaxy has to deal with. But
And
I can see that responding religion.
The last thing I'll bring up is the possibility of Zro actually affecting synthetics, the ones made by the Durand. Because, especially with what we established now, the Durand needed, the possibility that they put that into their machinery of, yeah, it runs on it, but it can be overcharged with it. And once that starts happening, that those synthetics can also become fiends. Not necessarily psychically powered, but more so just overclocked.
Yeah.
Being able to possibly interact with technology better, like hooking up to those ancient pieces of tech and being able to actually get them to work while they're hopped up like that.
I mean, especially if you were a sentient machine, who wouldn't want to run at 120% or 200% or whatever it is all the time versus just every now and then?
And I do like the idea of that actually making the metals and the bits and parts actually corrode and like replacement parts being needed, or parts of them actually start to grow those crystals as well. The issue is if they stop taking it, they don't get that second chance. They kind of peter out, kind of like the increasing the amount of power they get. They don't get to turn to stone. They just can still be harvested, but you can't bring that back. Unless you think otherwise, if it would be more interesting if they could be brought back.
Oh, I like that. They kind of overclock their CPU until it just burns out.
Yeah, to kind of give them a sense of mortality. Even if they could back themselves up or something like that, they become zero addicts. Suddenly, they're mortal.
Perfect. What other pieces do we want to go on to? Or is it a good time to pivot to a little bit of the alien mechanics stuff? All right, let's pivot a little bit. So who has played Alien here? Alex, I think you played. You and Berger played.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Keith, have you played?
No, I haven't.
So Alien, really easy system to pick up. Luckily, it is based off Free League Year Zero system, so it's a D6 system. Pretty straightforward, to be honest. So they do a good job too. And basically, we're going to utilize all of the alien gear stuff. So there's a lot of cool like weapons, armor, all of that you guys can utilize with the system. We may reflavor a few pieces if necessary. But on a quick look through this afternoon, it seemed like it all fits pretty much the flavor we put out for the Galaxy without any tweaks. So with that, this is with using the alien. I probably should have mentioned it, but I do think it should call out. This will be like a little bit of a sci horror style kind of adventure there, with going to a planet that could be doomed on that side, which is why the alien system will fit really well. This is a system that has not quite OSR levels of lethality, but definitely kind of more than a Pathfinder or D&D style. This is definitely one where the wrong engagement could kill you. So definitely could keep that in mind. But overall, fairly straightforward. I'm going to be giving you guys the virtual tabletop link. We're going to be using Foundry. Luckily, it's super easy to build characters with this system, and especially with Foundry as well. So with that, you guys will kind of build level 1 characters on that side, and then we'd kind of throw them into the adventure.
Briefly to mention, having played this before, I built out a pretty beefy and tanky guy, Garmin, and it really is no joke. You can't just run right into an encounter and expect to get unscathed. Garmin got his ass beat a time or two during that session.
Yep.
So, yeah, very much to keep that in mind. Very good to keep that in mind.
And one of my favorite things with this, the system does have a lot of cool mechanics to kind of help support the horror side of it with stress and panic. So you'll have like certain things you'll do will kind of build stress. And stress is like this is one of my favorite year zero pieces. Because usually, whenever you roll your skill, you roll X number of DX that you or D6s that you've got with the skill. But the more stress points you get, the more D6s you get to roll. So it actually helps you do better for a while, getting those stress points. But the stress die, which usually if you're playing this in person, you have to keep your stress die separate from your regular die. But the stress die, if you get a 1 on that die, something bad happens. So it could be so you could panic, just whatever you were trying to do. There's a bad result that we get to play with on that side.
Briefly, I also do want to mention I built my character into very much taking a lot of stress and getting advantages from that, and I double the fact of I love the stress mechanic. If you plan on building into the stress mechanic, please be more careful than I was.
Yeah.
And I will say, because this is what we're hoping, and there will be a crew going along with you guys as well to kind of support you. The initial group will be kind of the main leaders of it, but just in case death does befall, there will be alternates. You guys better sub in pretty well on the story.
Not just 10 minutes in, rocks fell, you all died. Well, now we'll never know what happened on that planet. Big sad. Whoop, whoop.
I thought that was a
Anyway.
nice way of saying, Burger, please build 3 characters.
Yes. Hey, screw it.
One
Make
for
it
each
4 just to be safe.
But yeah, the nice thing with this, they've got the cool panic table and when you do and like some of the things that can trigger a panic too, it's like you roll 1 on your stress die, like I mentioned. You get I see a friendly character suffering from something, whether it be a panic effect or getting like critically injured or something like that. You are critically injured. A strange alien creature you've never seen attacks you, or just like truly horrifying event as determined by your GM happens. You make the panic roll, where you roll a d6 and add your current stress level, and then you go off the table. And the table could be anything from like 1 to 6. You're keeping it together. You manage to keep your nerves in check barely. To 15 plus, you're catatonic. You just collapse to the floor. You can't talk or move, staring blankly into oblivion. So I really liked how this system kind of supported horror, and I liked too how it does some of the combat pieces. It's one of the kind of the unique ones for the year 0 with how it handles that as well. So definitely, we'll be going through. I know this is like half the group's first time playing, and the other half's like first time playing in a while. So we'll be going through the mechanics pretty slowly as we go through into the story. But overall, I found that one pretty quick to pick up, and nothing too crazy. It's well written. Freely does a good job of organizing, and it's not like too crunchy. But for those who haven't played, or even for those who have played, it's been a bit. What questions do you guys have about the mechanics, character creation? And I'll go into some more character creation stuff in a second. But what questions do you guys have overall?
One thing I was going to mention, because I was thinking about it, I just put in the Galaxy Lore channel in our Discord server the list of playable species for reference, because just seeing a list I've written out will help me as I start to flesh out my character. So if anybody else wants to use it, and let me know if I missed anything, but that should be helpful.
I can't remember. I think the assembly actually was agreed to be not a playable race, but rather like because they were really powerful, if I'm not mistaken. It was a race, but I can't remember if we agreed for that.
I think we did agree there'd be more NPCs.
Okay. Take them off.
So that's to go over it verbally for the stream. We got the Mingasi / the Grab, which is the the armadillo shrimp, as they were very endearingly called. We have the Hiss / the Rund, who are the honorable old lizard people. And we have the Durang, or the Dewbots, AIs made by the Duran that run on Zero. And to be clear, I'm reading directly off of Chris's notes in the Galaxy lore. We got the humans, the Zerg of the galaxy, dwarves, tough manual workers and pilots, and the Aquin, insectoid businessmen who can't use redacted. Also, they are the business people of the galaxy and the consistent war criminals of the galaxy. I'm really trying hard not to immediately go, all right, do we all want to go Aquin so we can fuck this up? I mean, in a good way. I mean, like, fuck up the Star Eater while also creating new business ventures and opportunities.
There's definitely going to be an Arquin that's like, I'm here because there's some investments we got to check on before this thing goes south.
There could be some things we need to take off this planet before it blows up.
If we can help people, that's okay.
That's actually something I do want to bring up. One of the shoot, I forget what they're called. It's not quite classes, but one of the things you can select for yourself here is called the company agent. You really can lean into it too. It's really nice.
That is one of the big things with Alien too, like the corporate kind of interactions. Because if you watch the Alien movies, like the corporations are in charge, and as always in any sci horror setting, they don't do a great job of anything.
So yeah, like the Quinn company agent, a match made in heaven. If anyone wants to take that up, please do.
Yeah, and
Otherwise, I might join it.
And with the characters, so one of the things they do too is they give you you pick a career, which is kind of like where the company agent came from. So I'll give you guys kind of a breakdown of the ones they have on there. They've got the Colonial Marine or Colonial Marshal, which would kind of fit there. And for the lore pieces, we'll tweak them to fit the galaxy. But overall, like a lot of these shouldn't need to be changed too much for kind of what we've made so far. There's a company agent. There's a kid. I don't think the kid would fit this one with you guys being sent there. You got the medic, the officer, the pilot, the roughneck, and then the scientist. Which all, I think, pretty much outside of the kid, everything else I think would fit pretty well.
To briefly mention, the one I picked up last time was Roughneck, and I can very much recommend it. It was very fun. I think all of these are like really fun.
What I think we'll do is we'll take our break a little early, but what we'll do when we come back is go over any other mechanics you guys may have questions on. Then we'll start to flesh out a little bit kind of why this team came together. For anybody that has thoughts on kind of who they may want to, like not like the build or anything, but it's kind of like the character type they want to play, we can kind of talk that through. Figure out a little bit more too about the guy that brought the group together and kind of see what we can flesh out ahead of session one. So we're gonna take a quick. Actually, we'll take a little bit of a longer break than usual. We'll take a quick 10-minute break. Come back 8:30. Then we'll kind of go over those pieces, any mechanics questions, and then get everything set up. So I'll see you guys about 10 minutes.
All right.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of the Galaxy. As we are building out our first campaign, we're calling Hard Contact, utilizing the Alien TTRPG by Free League. So we would kind of start off with a little bit of additional fleshing out of the Galaxy. We're going to do a little bit more on the mechanic side for the system, just to kind of make sure everybody knows a little bit of what it's about. And then after that, we're going to kind of dive in to kind of learn a little bit more about, who this team is that's brought together. And then for anybody that has some thoughts on their characters, we'll hear a little bit about that in preparation for our first session, which will be on the 18th of February, I think that is. The 18th of February, where we'll get to kind of put this system into action and see the first session within the Galaxy. Couple of things I wanted to go through the systems I didn't mention before. So we already touched on it's a D6 system. One of the big things to keep in mind with this system is the only number that matters on the die, unless it's a stress die, is 6. So to get a success, you need to hit a 6. Typically, you get a decent amount of D6s that you can roll, but if you don't hit a 6, you don't get a success. And then typically, most of the things you need to accomplish can be anywhere between 1 success, which would be the most common, 2, which are things are more difficult, and 3 for it's nearly impossible, but you're making an attempt at it. Cool thing with this system, which I know a lot of you will like, I think, is you can push your roll. So if you got a bad roll, but you're like, I want to gamble here, what the gambling does is gives you a point of stress, but allows you to re-roll the dice. And with stress too, you get more die that are going to help you succeed, but those ones are where those panic rolls come into place. Because the only time a 1 matters is when it's on your stress die. For a regular die, from your skills, your attributes, all of that, you could roll those and it'll get a 1. It doesn't matter. But when it comes to the stress die, and luckily Foundry separates those for you automatically. But when those ones come into play is when kind of danger and things happen. You start panicking, and as it could potentially go catatonic. So I know that was new for a couple people, but do you guys have any questions on the dice system? Luckily, it's pretty straightforward on that side. But just I know it's new or it's been, I think it's been 2 or 3 years or 2 years or so since we did the Alien run through. So
I mean, we did The Walking Dead, which was
true.
Close enough. 6 good, 1 bad sometimes.
And that's a really good call out. We are going to be utilizing from Walking Dead. I think, Alex, I mentioned this when we played last time with Alien. I hated their map rules. So we're going to use the Walking Dead map rules. Luckily for you guys, you don't have to really pay it. It's just on the GM side. I have to worry about that. Luckily, you won't have to do it. It's mostly going to be theater in the mind for this campaign.
All right. That just sounds like you don't want to draw maps.
I hate drawing maps. I think I've said before, that's my least favorite part of gaming. But I'm so particular that I have to do it because I have to have it the way I want it. So it's just, yeah. So luckily it's theater of the mind mostly for this one. There might be a couple big spots where I want to do a map, but otherwise it'll likely be theater.
All right. Well, mechanic-wise, I guess we're gonna figure that out as we go. But character-wise, anybody? I'm wondering about the organization that's sending this investigative ship out there.
And that's a really good one because I was playing off for the prompt, a little bit of what we said with the Durand. Before we knew there was Joe addicts, we decided that they were the protectors. They tried to style themselves as protectors and kind of spread out amongst the stars, protecting those that they thought were under their part of their horde, part of their jurisdiction. So with this, you guys were brought together by Zarvog, the protector of Sector 6175. He thought through his own connection to MK, he thought that the planet had gone dark. He had a premonition of the planet going dark, and then found that the planet was no longer responding both to his kind of mental touch as well as kind of the traditional ancient technology that they use to communicate between the stars. So he's assembling a team to be able to go out, investigate, figure out what's going on. He believes it could be the Star Eaters, or could even just be local politics, war, or something that has knocked them out of communication. But he wants to have you all investigate, find out what's going on, evacuate the planet if the worst comes to worst, or help solve the issue if it's something that could be solvable. But the big thing we get to figure out is kind of what team are you guys? How'd you guys come into Zarvok's attention? And kind of what brought you all together? Are you guys somebody that Zarvok kind of reached out to individually? Are you all a team that's been working together for some time? That's kind of we'll flesh out today a little bit.
I do. Oh wait, Alex, you look like you had something there for a second. Pop off.
No, I was just playing with my teeth.
Oh, in that case, I kind of like the two ideas pop into my mind immediately, and that's going off the idea that we were a team beforehand, either a team for recon / scouting, or perhaps a science team, possibly a combination of both that looked into older technologies. So our expertise on the possibility of a Star Eater or something of the like could be of great consequence here.
I like it because Star Eaters are new, so it would make sense that Zarvok kind of sent you there for dual reasons, both to, if it is Star Eaters, kind of uncover more information about them and start to kind of see what ancient technologies, kind of how they interact with the technologies.
So, unless anyone has any issues with that, the next question I'd pose coming from that is, are we known for getting things done efficiently, getting things done quietly, or getting things done loud or something of the like?
I wanted to, before we press forward on that, maybe a bit of a maybe I'm trying to take the GM spot. Maybe, but what if we're being sent there to potentially retrieve data if it is a Star Eater? Like as like a parameter. Like if it is a Star Eater, well, we have an observation post that's gathering this, and we want to. This is ideal for understanding their function, how they do this, why they do this, how quickly they do it. And so if it is a Star Eater, the hell with everybody, go get the data.
I like that. So if it is a Star Eater, would the primary objective be getting the data or protecting the people?
Well, I mean, depends on who you ask, right? What's a few thousand lives in the face of information?
That could be a very human way of looking at it. For a few thousand lives for humans, like, oh yeah, the information, that could be very worth it. A few thousand lives for, say, any other race in the galaxy, it's like, no, the people! Except maybe the dwarves.
Yeah, well, I don't know, just an errant thought that I'm like, if it is a Star Eater, we want to know more about these things. They got to have something gathering data.
I like that. One piece I'd add to it, I would say Zarvok is probably concerned about the lives, but Zarvok's not like your direct employer. He reaches out to you for jobs every now and then. Maybe you guys have somebody that's a little bit more calculating on the other side that says, screw the people, get the data and bring it back.
Do you guys want to sleep well at night or money?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I like the idea that we were sent there for one of those reasons, but we chose to take the job because of the other reason, whether people or information. So if, like, it could be like Zarvog is like, hey, there's a Star Eater there, go help the people. And we're like, oh, a Star Eater, let's go find out about it. And maybe we'll help the people on the way, who knows? Or somebody else is like, hey, there's a Star Eater, go get information. And Zarvog's like, well, there's actually also people there, you have to worry about that. And we're like, oh yeah, people we should take care of them.
Yeah, we'll get on that. Yeah.
Because the Arquin would definitely pay a hefty sum for information on the Star Eaters. So the corporate authority would. I mean, that could be a payday. I mean, Zarvog gives you guys the tips, not realizing that there's money tied to it, and thinks you're there to save the people.
Yeah, or it
I
could
like
not
that
be
a
a
lot.
Star Eater at all. Maybe it's something else.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I
that's right.
like that a lot, but it's still, my question is still posed. What are we known for? Quiet, efficiency, loud, leaving no witnesses, perhaps, or perhaps known for saving the most amount of people. What's our rumor? What's are we known for?
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking, like, well, we're known for quickness. I don't know. We need something done in a hurry. We'll drop everything.
Okay, you guys are efficient. You can kind of like you're one of the people that prioritize jobs. Get done.
Yeah, we're. If you're willing to pay the premium fee, we'll be your premium team.
Now, you guys quick and professional, or quick and you're quick?
You know,
You got like Little Caesars pizza, like it's hot and ready there, or like
Maybe we weren't the first choice. We were just the only choice.
We were nearby, or
Yeah.
there were other people nearby. Well, they won't get there fast enough, anyways.
Yeah, I guess maybe by happenstance we were just in the area.
I have an idea. So what if anyone's crazy enough to go after the first 3 didn't come back?
Hell yeah!
Okay.
All right,
I like that a lot. Like, oh yeah, we've lost contact with all these other teams. They're not us.
Maybe we as a team don't know that. It's like coming across like what could be the remains of or survivors of the other temes.
Someone walks out as personal teams, but then without got some contractors, like, oh, just neglected to mention other groups have been stood out for the same prize.
I have liked the idea that technically the information was there for us to receive. Like, oh, we're not the first ones out there, but we didn't get it. Kind of like something to do with a little bit of Kazuya pandemonium. Like, oh, it's there on paper. No one read it. So it's like, oh shit.
I just used DocuSign. I kept clicking next so it would take me to the right spot to sign.
They're just like one sentence deep in paragraph 6 that said, oh, and if you can return some gear that was lent to the first 3 squads that attempted that has since been lost, and that's like the only hint in the whole thing.
And it's like a half the size of the rest of the other fonts.
Yeah.
And like tucked away in a corner.
Retrieve equipment from previous teams.
Or just random reference. They call you Squad 3, like as a signee Squad 3.
Right.
No explanation.
Hereafter to designated as Squad 3. Squad 3. Because there's 4 of us. Yeah, makes sense. What?
Do you want to get paid, or do you want to ask questions?
Right? Okay, I can dig. I like the idea of not knowing that we're, squad.
So efficiency, speed, and crazy motherfuckers who take on some shady jobs.
And also we were in the neighborhood.
Yeah, as well as like the slight thing of like I mentioned before, like a bit of recon / science. We're there to gather information / help out people. I do want to. We don't need to like hard pin it down, but the general alignment of us. I'm not going to be like, are we good? Are we evil? More so, are we out merely for ourselves, or are we out for other people? Or are we just pure neutral in that? It's whoever's paying the best.
I think that could vary between the group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like some of the different careers I'm looking at kind of lean more towards like whatever I do, like I'm going to at least care deeply for everyone else in our group. Whether that extends to the whole universe or not probably depends on our perspective. But like medic is one I was looking at to give you an example, but there's also a few others that I could probably have a similar kind of personality trait to. Of like, as long as my teammates get out all right, that's what I care about the most. But if we come across some survivor and they're very helpful for us, then maybe I'm like, all right, you're a part of the team now. You're getting out too.
You've been integrated. Welcome. Oh man. Cool. I'm looking around.
So I think a good transition on that side too. Because I know you guys have started looking at careers. Does anybody have kind of a career, kind of like a little bit about kind of what they're thinking for the guy? And it's definitely all right if you don't have anything yet. You're on mute.
Yeah, you're not speaking, brother. Or you are, but we are not hearing it. I'm going to suggest he gets himself a different browser. It's like I prefer Firefox, but this engine does not work from. Hello again.
Apologies.
There you go.
Been having some issues with my computer as of late with that. Not sure how to fix it, but for now, what did I say? Oh yeah, I have many build ideas and many things that come to mind. However, I kind of want to go last, let the other people pop up with theirs, and then make something that's more in fitting with who we have as people and what we need as a party.
Well, I was thinking I'm torn between pilot and roughneck.
Well, I don't know if Keith still is. Keith was thinking pilot, I believe, unless you've changed that.
Nope.
I had a couple ideas. I was either going to
Okay.
go a marine pilot or medic, one of those. I'm good. I can go whatever. So if you wanted to do a pilot, go for it.
I was thinking about being a child. That'd be terrible. It's like, I just snuck on board. Where do we end up? Oh God.
Do a dying system.
Yeah. You've come to the death of a star. Welcome. Was somebody thinking officer?
I was bouncing between three of them: medic, marine, or the colonial marshal.
The law.
Sounds like officers up for grabs then, if you want to go that way.
All right, let's go. Okay. Paperwork. Oh boy.
So it's like Alex is running with officer. Chris, I'll pick on you next. What are you thinking?
Let's see. I think I'll probably then do medic. I'll be a Mangasi medic.
Okay.
Ooh.
Nice.
Megasi medic. Alex, do you have a species you're thinking?
Oh, I was thinking. I like humans. I like being human. I don't know.
Keeping the tradition alive.
Yeah. I like just you're lucky I didn't pick human fighter.
Hey, that'd be Marine.
Marine. I'll be the marine here. My initial thought was hiss, and I just don't think it's going to fit. And I don't want to force it into it. So, you know what? I'm going to go human. I'm going to go. I'll be the human marine also.
This could fit though. If was there any reason you think it wouldn't fit?
I'm worried that we're like, nah, those people don't matter.
Oh yeah.
Well, they're not his horde is the big thing. Our team is part of his horde, not this particular colony. It's a rival's horde, actually. So you could save them to be moral and to be a guardian, or you could let your rival kind of lose some power.
Maybe, because I was also thinking similar lines with the Mangasi being so like diplomacy focused. Maybe we've been offered money for information on the Star Eaters, and that money will go towards some other colony of people that like we've been working with that really needs our help. So it's like, sure, it would be great to help the people here, but we're doing this job because there's this large group of people that we care about that will get help from.
Yeah, like this system's kind of foobarred if it is a Star Eater. Now our system
Ours still has hope.
Well,
Them not so much.
an interesting take on this would be if, it's one of those situations of like, yeah, sure, we could save a few thousand people on this planet, but if you get that information back, we can prevent catastrophes in hundreds of planets.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily like we're the shady guys here. Just, different views on morals.
Morally dubious or questionable, but still moral nonetheless, depending on which direction we take it. But yeah, no. If I remember correctly, I was the one who suggested his, and I was the one that said like, oh yeah, they're kind of the equivalent of whenever you see a Krogan on the battlefield, they're like, oh fuck. Like one of those. Like when you see an elite amongst the grunts from Halo, it's like the Singeli. It's like, oh my goodness, I don't want to fight that. At least that's how I feel whenever in Mass Effect I've ran into a Krogan. So it's like, oh fuck me.
Perfect. So we've got a Marine, a human Marine, or Keith, are you staying with human or are you going with Durand?
I'll do the his. I'll do the Durand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got a Durand Marine, a Magazi medic, and then a human officer. Burger, what are you going with?
If we're going there for information, the two that really stick out to me, or three rather, are corporate, pilot, or scientist. Pilot and scientist being more so because they have the comm link skill, which, if I'm not mistaken, is like the tech skill. The comm tech skill.
I believe so. Let me pull it up real quick.
It's the comm tech.
Yeah, it's like programming androids, mainframes, like a couple of the technology bits.
Yeah. Shoot. Which one would be? I'll post this to the party. Which one would you rather have? A scientist, a pilot, or someone from corporate?
I mean, I think if we're goal is to get information about the Star Eaters, a scientist would be a pretty good fit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, then. In that case, scientists, and looking at the various options, I gotta go with a Quinn. I gotta go with the bug rays. How could I not?
All right. So we got our Arquin scientist added to the group. And it sounds like we go to sum up a few of the things the group said so far. So you also we have to figure out who they're competing or the additional offer we'll say is you receive some additional offer for additional credit or for credits for finding information on the Star Eaters, while Zarvog has offered you a chance to save the colony and uncover if it truly is a Star Eater attack. The group was brought in due to being quick and accessible, able to get there. We would say first, but you're not the first team that was sent, with two other teams going out ahead of you. And with that, the group's sounds like somewhat altruistic. At least you've got your own system that you're trying to get these credits for, potentially. Let's flesh out the system a little bit. Who are these people? Are you guys part of the government? How are you guys connected to this colony, and why are you giving them money?
Maybe it's where we all grew up. Or at least have lived there for a while, and that's where we all met, and we have family and connections and friends, and we've kind of maybe it's come on hard times, and that's why we decided, like, all right, we got to go out and find some ways to make money to send back home.
So are you guys giving it to your families or to the government? Yeah, I think if you give it to the government, I would expect there to be some major looming threat or tragedy that's kind of befallen the system to make mercenaries or groups willing to risk their life to go out and send that money back.
Because the thing is, we're all very different species.
Sure.
So I'm trying to think of like what would bring us all together.
What if it's like okay, here's an idea. It's there. This colony was sort of like a major trading hub with a lot of like different species going back and forth, using it as like a stopping point for going places. And we all come from families that like, set up shop there, and there's like live there, but most of the people we interact with are just passing through. But a little while back, a new wormhole opened somewhere else to where now it's much quicker to get between two like major places without going through our colony first. So we've just like lost a lot of that trade that was coming through, and all of the like livelihoods that our families had in this kind of small little trading colony are struggling without that trade.
With less traffic, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Makes sense. Yeah. I can get behind that. But are we just like, hey guys, here's enough to make rent, or are we trying to get them either get a new sort of station somewhere else, or is it even possible to move that one, or I don't know.
Well,
Maybe that's what you guys are trying to do: get enough cash to be able to move the station.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys have a colony back home that a new wormhole kind of opened up, and pretty much just the economy's hard right now for them. And you guys are kind of building up resources to build a new system to kind of move this station into another area so you can kind of find new opportunities for your crew.
All right.
Perfect. Does anybody have any kind of inklings? Like, your class, a little bit of background about the team, kind of what your overall mission is. Does anybody have any inklings on their character, kind of who they'll be playing with this?
So I'm just trying to think. All right, so we have the concept of there's a colony. Our families hail from said, like, well, not colony, but a space station. So we're a pretty diverse group of people. One's a scientist, an officer, a soldier, well, the equivalent of, and a medic. I'm trying to think, how would that stuff tie in? Like, are these roles that we took on because we were good at them to, I guess, provide services for other people in exchange for money? Is that?
Or I guess kind of were you guys mercs before, or kind of like taking on jobs before the catastrophe happened, or is this something that you guys have been pushing?
Yeah, because like this is kind of like a it's a weird thing to fall into, if that makes sense. If you're looking for extra credits, right? It's like, oh yeah, well, damn, we fallen on hard times. Well, we become Zero investigators.
We've been out this a decent amount of time, enough to be called upon,
All right.
like
So
we've been working together rather than being forced together.
So this station's been in peril for a long time then, and this is kind of what I don't know. I'm thinking of how to reconcile and make it work in my head.
I would say that you guys are probably like Zero investigators before the station with Belly Up, but now you're trying to pivot to help your people. So before, I don't know, you guys are maybe kind of just doing it for the credits, but now you got a cause.
But now you're doing it for the people. All right, that makes more sense.
And maybe so it is a job even before the trade thing.
All right.
Okay, so the kind of character I'm thinking of, particularly bringing, if I'm going with an Arquin, right? There's a certain type of character archetype that I like a lot of. Almost a schemer, not exactly backstabber in this case, but like that kind of like a schemer trickster that's super confident in themselves. But the moment that something starts to go south, they are fully like, "Oh no! Oh please! Oh woe is me! Mercy be upon me!" kind of deal. Especially with a scientist in this case, like being overconfident, like, oh, this will be nothing but a milk run to that the first sight of the story, they're like, we need to get out of here. But despite that, when truly push comes to shove, like life or death, someone who can like sink back into almost stoic mannerism to be still helpful to the team. This I wouldn't call it goofy from the outside for us, goofy, but from the inside of our team looking into this person, this almost erratic person who is confident, collected, until they're not.
Okay. So kind of so that really has it together in the lab, but when it kind of the trouble starts piling in, starts to panic a bit, but like when it's really do or die, it can sink in.
Yeah, just like when things get rough, it's, oh goodness me, mercy upon me. But when it's like, oh, I really could die here, it's like, okay, we get this done.
Okay.
Tries to talk their way out of things when they can talk. When they can't, it's sorry. I thought that'd be more humorous than it was.
Perfect. Now, what's the rest of the crew thinking?
Mine will be pretty straightforward. Hiss. This is my horde. These are my people. And so when we ever go out in these excursions, take it upon himself to go with to ensure the safety of the crew.
For sure.
I'm still trying to figure out what the hell an officer would be doing on this damn boat.
It could be that you are directly the person who is in command of us and deals with various like getting in the missions, dealing with the credits and whatnot, making sure we don't end up dead, kind of deal. You're
So
our
maybe you report to the like government of our station or something like that, or at least have like a lot of contacts there.
Yeah. It could even be that you're the one to keep watch of us to make sure that we are doing our job right and not just running off with the credits or
But I
doing
mean, we're all
something nefarious.
invested in it, right? Like we're all kind of in the same. Like, hey, we care about our people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the government of the space station, or I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense in like in this context. I'm not sure if that role would.
Well, what if we were to take a step back and say the catastrophe that is the imminent threat to our colony isn't necessarily just the degradation of the economy, but rather we're being kind of either pirates or bandits are threatening. And so now we're getting this information exchange and keeping them at bay. And so now the government is sending us out.
Okay. Okay.
Worst case scenario, if you can't figure out the reason why officer would work, there are other careers as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see here. Roughneck pilots, corporate, and I'm trying to remember the other one. Are
Like
still
the Marshall, right?
Marshall, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll let you think on that one a little bit, but Chris, I'll pick on you next.
Yeah, so I was thinking that I'm not the most senior, but like probably the oldest of the well, I don't know. It's different with different species, but like I've been around for a while doing my job. I've seen some shit. I've patched up more wounds on more species than you can count, and like I'm just gonna do whatever it takes to keep going. Like not surprised at all whenever things go south. They always do, but I'm do everything I can to prepare for it and deal with it. I'm like a when I like talk to you or treat your wounds or whatever, I'm not nice about it, which is kind of unusual for Benghazi. They're usually very like diplomatic in the way they talk, but like just because I've dealt with so much, I'm like I don't got time to honey my words. I'm just gonna tell you like it is, and I mean I'll make sure you stand up, but I'm not gonna.
All right. For the station, I think kind of like I like the things being like beset by pirates as well, but maybe rather than like a wormhole closing that's kind of like screwed over the station. What if like one of like the major trade pieces or kind of one of the other like players in the system that brought people by the station? What if their solar system got like eaten by a Star Eater? Destroyed on that side, no trade coming through. Some of the survivors have turned to piracy, and you guys are trying to either keep your station together or get it out of Dodge.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So there's a little bit more personal why we want to know, okay, what's really the deal with these Star Eaters?
Yeah. With that, Alex, we'll pick on you again. What are you thinking?
What would the equivalent of law enforcement be doing on that ship? I'm open to suggestions.
I mean, if you're like, because like you're the station, you could be like the security expert, kind of going along to make sure that the kind of things get done. Things kind of are done by the station's laws, and that you're able to kind of keep everybody safe throughout it.
All right, then I'll throw my hat in as colonial, the equivalent of marshal.
All right.
Okay.
Perfect. So I think we've got our crew there then. So we've got the marshal, we've got the medic, we've got the marine, we've got the scientists, kind of all brought together to kind of go through and either save the colony, but as the protector wants to, or potentially get more information on how the Star Eaters work to sell to a higher bidder and get more resources for your own station and potentially find a way to safeguard your people from the pirate attacks and find a different sector. So I think we've got a pretty good base point, I think, for people going out and fleshing out their characters, building that out for session one. What other questions, what other lore pieces do you guys have? And this could be ranged from like lore questions about the galaxy that we should flesh out, or even just questions about the alien mechanic system that we can kind of go through too.
Does it have any kind of built-in like bond thing for between characters, or if not, that could be something fun to think about, like specific. I would at least want to know somebody in this group. I've patched up a serious wound at least once, and that would be fun to like figure out like what exactly did I heal you, why, how did you get hurt, and stuff like that.
I don't think the system does, but I was planning on sending out some questions like that after we get the characters created and some of the backstories through.
Or if we do that right there, if one of us decides to play synth, sorry, I can hold back my smile there. If one of us decides to play synth, would the others know? And would it just be something that we as a group are okay with, or would it be kept as a secret from certain individuals in the group?
The group would not know if you decide to play a synth.
I'm just imagining like straight out of like Fallout 4, just like replacing a person on the station. Just Just he was gone for a day, but now he's back.
We don't
Weird.
sleep much anymore.
Yeah.
The thing that comes to mind with that is if one of us has played synth, but our medic has patched each of us up and will likely patch us up again in this coming fight.
That'd be
Who
hard
has-
to.
I mean, the way I kind of picture as I'm building this personality is like if I go to patch up your wounds and I'm like, oh, there's something different here. I'd probably ask you a few questions about it. Be like, all right, I've seen worse. Your secret's safe with me.
I will say for the synth, because some of the panic rolls are tied to it. If you were the synth, you've just been lucky and not have gotten hit. You've each mission, you've been the lucky one. Nothing's gone through to injure you to the point where you need medical attention.
Kind of
Yeah.
perfect for a scientist staying in the back, eh?
Yeah, and if it makes like I've got a medical degree, I'll figure this out myself. Don't touch me.
And don't rule out your medic being a synth.
Oh, and then we're all synths.
That would be absolutely hilarious. Like, we all come in, none of us know. The first
Yeah.
one who gets hurt, like, wait a second, you too? All of us?
Oh.
Actually, yeah, no, that is a good question. Since would we panic to realize one of us was a sin?
It'd be fake panic. Oh wow, what are you?
Yeah, that actually would give a good reason for why we're such a diverse group too. Like, oh, it's because we've all been trying to blend in our own ways.
Yeah, and then we just blend together.
Of course, we don't have to go down that track.
No, I think that'd be a little bit too much. Like, well, we're all do-bots.
I personally, while I do think it would be interesting to be a synth for this one, I think I will move away from that personally because of I don't want to detract from anything or like I have a history. I have a reputation. I feel as though if I play a synth, that's going to be discovered rather quickly.
Yeah, it's like, is that danger? I'm squishy and made out of wet noodle. Hello.
So a question, because I'm debating my choice of Hiss. I might go back to human, and so I'm wondering, in this system, is it a bad die roll and you're done?
Not usually one bad die roll.
Okay.
But it could be one combat though that you're done.
Oh, okay.
It could be one. If you get like shot, that could be it.
Yeah. Because the reason I say that is there's some systems in which you are very durable, and you can play that quote tank role, and I would hate to like be at this like ferocious Hiss on the battlefield, like first time we've seen him, bad die roll, goes down, like, and so I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna go back to human.
That's fair.
Just for that purpose.
Maybe good to save the Hiss for like
Yeah.
Starfinder or something with a little bit more durability can be brought in.
Yeah.
Something with HP in the double digits.
Yeah.
There are actually a few feats in this, or talents rather, for tankiness, but as someone who took some of them for Garmin, they help, but they will not save your ass sometimes.
It's like the difference between cardboard and paper.
Yeah. It did save Garmin from dying, though, from the radiation. He was indeed a quote-unquote immune. Well, he was not immune.
He was not. But, mind over matter.
It went from, oh no, he's dead, to, okay, he's living.
Kind of.
Yeah. I mean, get your prostate checked when you get out of there, but yeah, he's living.
Just the extra few more tumors.
Oh yeah.
Perfect. Well, I think. Oh, actually, I should. So, are there any other big questions, mechanic-wise, lore-wise, the group wants to go through?
Oh.
Okay.
How many people are on this colony?
Yeah, that's good.
We've established the colonies usually are sparsely populated because, well, the galaxy doesn't have nearly as many members in it as humans exist. It's humans being the Zerg and whatnot. So, how many people are on this colony? Is it in the thousands, tens of thousands?
Yeah, and with the galaxy, with the populations, like it's this colony is still like it's a planet still, so it's about 100,000. So the other galaxies and species, like they definitely have less than the humans, but that's collectively. So like they have to have like self-sufficient numbers to man planets and spread of the stars too.
It's not like 30 guys.
Yeah. Yeah, so 100,000. So it's still like it's a decent size kind of planet. We'll say it's kind of mostly like a agricultural farming planet that exports kind of its goods across the sector. That's right.
Yeah.
A mix of different species that live there.
Primarily human. It's more of a recent colony, with established in the last 100 years.
Now I'm not gonna. I listen. We're about to have 2 humans on the team, but like my immediate reaction was as like the Quinn mindset of like, oh, only 10,000 humans. They'll repopulate that in like 50 years. Give them half a century, they'll get that back. It's not that big of a deal. Doesn't cut into the margins. Take us to nearly 500 to 1,000 years to rebuild something like that. Humans, it's nothing.
Well, I mean, if the humans are like the Zerg and this is a fairly recent colony, then yeah, this is, I guess, relatively speaking, like the Zerg. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically we've got typical birth rates with humans in like our world in the galaxy. It's just the other species live longer and reproduce less.
Yeah. Well,
probably the humans too was spreading out and kind of getting back into the colonial spirit, we'll say. Probably kind of like early 19th century birth rate where it's not like
manifest destiny, baby. If it's we can touch it, it's ours.
I bet they rebranded it somehow, but yeah, it's like it's
really kidding me. Manifest destiny. That's like all the branding you need. That just go west. You mean go outward.
Okay, I feel like the joke of like, are you sure they need our house? But 100,000 humans, they gotta have a nuke somewhere on that planet, right?
Probably. It'd be weird if they didn't. Maybe that's the fail. No, that's not a fail safe. That's
it depends. Are they the kind of ones to send it up to the enemy or be like, oh, you want this planet? You want our planet then? You're not going to have our planet.
I mean, if we're talking about something that can consume, giant balls of fire, then what's a nuke? An appetizer?
We have in our palm of our hands the immense and explosive power of the sun itself. Oh, it's eating the sun.
Yum. Oh, there it goes. Yummy, yummy in its tummy. Crap.
Humans would still send the nuke, though. They're like, but our nuke, it's got heart. It's got
to do something. All
right. That's a human colony, about 100,000 in there, mostly agricultural, but definitely in the Duran sector. He feels it's part of his overall horde. So Zarvog is trying to have you guys hopefully help these humans out that he's starting to grow fond of.
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
Oh, and I forget. I know we talked about it. Are we going with just humans exist or like Earth exists?
We said Earth exists, but it's not been discovered.
Okay. So human-ish. All right. Cool.
there's still humans out in the galaxy, but they're not fully like in like.
They're not Terran. They're humans, but not Terran.
Yeah.
Because like the gardeners planted or humans like in a bunch of different Earth-like.
That's right. That's right. They dispersed them like dandelions. Just
So like the worlds that the humans we meet are from are probably pretty Earth-like and like support human life well, but they wouldn't have like human culture direct or history or stuff that we're familiar with.
okay.
Sweet. Well, I think unless there's anything major, that's where we'll wrap today. 2 weeks from now, we'll come back. Actually, 2 or 3 weeks from now, we'll come back and kick off session 1 with our first adventure, the hard contact adventure utilizing the alien system. Yeah, before we wrap, any last minute thoughts or anything you guys want to go over?
It's gonna be good.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I like the alien system, especially with some of the Walking Dead tweaks I'm throwing in for the map side. So it should be a blast. So definitely make sure to come through, get to see us play this one live in action, and stay tuned. There's be a lot of different adventures with different systems coming out within the galaxy.